Feeling that you just heard right there, many people all around the city feel that way. Chaplains are often some of the first people on scenes like this one. They help victims and families process what happened. And we begin our expert coverage with Colts chaplain and former police officer, Pastor Ken Johnson. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, this is a big conversation, one that you are very used to having with people. Let's start by talking about mental health and faith. How do the two correspond with each other?
Well, I tell you, I'm devastated, and my sentiments go out to the families and all the victims, even the perpetrators' family, also part of this, and to the part of mental health and how we respond. Wow, knowing that all things work for the good, even when they're told so bad, and hurt people, and all of us are hurting in some kind of way. I know I said this with you this morning of how we just have to embrace all the pain that everybody has and try to love them in spite of it, in the midst of it, and because of it. And there's no sense sometimes of madness until you get on the other side of it and find out the reason why. I think about Coach Dungy's as I was serving as chaplain. Coach Dungy went through a tragedy, and the worst day of his life, the same day, a person's prayers was answered because their child got a heart or they got some lungs. And so in the midst of tragedies, just think about the people who something tragic has to happen before something wonderful can occur. So that's the faith that we have, and as chaplains and as individuals who respond to crises on a continual basis, that has to be our hope, that it's going to work out for the good.
You know, that's an amazing perspective to have. And earlier today, we were able to hear from many different local officials. Specifically, we heard from the chief deputy coroner of Marion County. And she said specifically that they hadn't been able to get onto the building just yet, but the first people they wanted to check in with to be able to help them with the identification process was chaplains. And so I think that that's a perfect question to pose to you, is walk us through what happens when they have to meet chaplains like yourself in situations like this. How do those conversations go with investigators as well as people who are impacted?
Basically, it's so dark right now that we try to create a sense of light and hope. And we hope that faith does that. And with that said, we are the part of the comfort that goes in the midst of the tragedies to try to find some light of hope for the people who have been devastated by what they're going through. And so we represent, I would hope, a fatherly spirit of protection, a warmth, a sense of connection with something higher than ourselves when things beneath us seem to be so out of control. And so I hope we represent faith, even in our humanity as chaplains. We're just humans. And as a football chaplain versus a police chaplain, two different roles because you respond to two different sets of crises, but pain is real. So in that level, you are not only there to really minister to the police officer who have to respond, the first responders who show up in the midst of that insanity that they consistently go through. How do you keep finding the light and the positivity in those situations?
Pastor Ken, that's amazing perspective.